Don't worry about Phil. He drives a Corvette. He is doing just fine.
Hello. Hi, everybody. How are we doing? Happy Sunday. Thank you so much for joining. If you're joining live, we're a day early. I got things to do tomorrow, okay? Let me know how you're doing in the chat. I was actually thinking this as I was reading Lisa's comment here. Happy Sunday. Do you consider Sunday the start or the end of the week? That's what I want to know. For me, personally, I consider it the end of the week. I think Monday is the first day of the week, but I'm curious to hear what you guys think. I have my orange cream soda sparkling water, store brand, as per usual. And I'm ready to get into today's content. We will be collectively together as a group of people on the internet, collectively reacting to a podcast today. I have been working on, same old story. I've been working on the coaching versus therapy interview video all day today. I am this close to being finished. So the plan is, once we're done here, I'm going to finish that. It'll go out to members. So members will have access tonight and tomorrow to watch it. And then it will go public on Tuesday. Okay, so stay tuned for that. Super excited. And I'm glad for that video to finally be done because it's been on my to-do list since March. I was telling a friend the other day, I recorded all those interviews before I went on my trip to Asia at the mid-April. And my plan was to go through all the content while I was on the plane. And obviously that didn't happen. And that's how we ended up, 4 months behind schedule. But here we are. Zip says, Sunday is the end of the week in lived experience, but the first day of the week on the calendar. I suppose it depends what calendar you use, because my desk calendar here starts on Monday and ends on the weekend. So I think there's isn't there a North American versus European standard? I don't know. Rosie says both. The Sunday is the beginning and the end of the week. Sunday is the end of the week for me. Okay, anyway, sorry, that was a bit of an aside. Like I mentioned, today we're going to be looking at a podcast. I guess I will take this moment to remind you all that everything that I say in these videos is just my silly little opinion. I'm just a dumb idiot on the internet. Nothing I say is that serious, and nothing that I say is a fact. It's just what I think. So you can do with that information what you will. We have Bubba is here. My partner is out for a bike ride. I suspect he will be interrupting us at some point in this stream, and the dogs will go crazy, so prepare yourselves for that now. Alas, let's just jump right into the content because I don't have much else to share or say. So this was sent to me by some lovely ladies that watch my content here on YouTube, and we were chatting about this podcast that I had never heard of. So we are going to take a listen together because if I have to suffer through something, so do you. And lo and behold, when I went to this individual's website, I go to the podcast page. They're offering us a podcast roadmap to help us get started. So naturally, I signed up and downloaded this little freebie. So that's what we're going to look through today. It's going to be like a choose your own adventure. You guys are going to help me pick what episode or episodes, depending how long they are, I'm not sure, we're going to listen to today. So if you're ready to get rich through ascension, whatever that means, this is the place for you. Let's see. So maybe a friend referred you here. That's exactly what happened. Wow, it's like she read my mind. Is this lady a psychic? Maybe someone random mentioned me in a Facebook group, blah, 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 blah. I created this roadmap to help you on board with key episodes that will help your weekly listening every week as new episodes are released. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. We're actually not going to start with the All-Stars. I think, yeah, when I looked through it, here we go. This is what I wanted. This woman has organized these things based on category. So I figured we could have a little look, and if anything stands out to anyone, just put the number in the comments, and we'll listen to that one. We can listen to how to start a business. We can listen to one about how to scale a business. We could listen to one about a spiritual awakening, mindset, money, branding. You guys let me know what we're in the mood for today. Do we want to get rich? Do we want to feel good about ourselves? Let me know the vibe. Harrison says, I think I got an ad for this podcast while the stream was loading. That would actually be hilarious. I know that the Mind Valley ads have been just absolutely blasted all over most of my content. But this is not that, just for the record. So I actually wasn't familiar with this individual. However, apparently, allegedly, according to my sources, this coach has worked with other coaches that we've covered on the channel. So she's like the grandma coach, you know? Okay, Zurify says, I'm in for money or spiritual. Okay, we love that. Let's see. What kind of money episodes we got? How entrepreneurs think about money. That could be interesting. Money integrity, earning. The quality of your money. Okay, I'm intrigued. How much money is enough? Oh my God, these all sound so incredible. Owning the value of your work, allowing wealth and the push and pull of money, how to invest strategically. Okay, I'm kind of leaning towards number 77, how much money is enough, but you guys can let me know if that sounds good. Okay, but now we're saying spiritual. Okay, high vibes of myth manifestation. I always feel like a little bit insecure, I guess, about covering the spirituality stuff because it's not something that I'm like super knowledgeable in, and I don't want to offend anyone. I'm fine like snarking on business because I get it. Although this sounds pretty interesting. Allowing expansion from 50,000 to 500,000. Okay, let's just start with number 77 and then we'll go from there. I'm assuming these maybe won't be that long, but we'll see. We can always listen to multiple. So how do I find the podcast? Like I can't, why wouldn't you make these hyperlinks? A little tip for anyone that's going to make a lead magnet. If you're directing people to something outside of the lead magnet, just make it a hyperlink. Make it easy for me to click on it so it takes me where I want to go so I don't have to go search for it on my own. Oh my God, there's more. Okay, guys, this could be a really long stream. Let's just go to Spotify and we'll search for it. Too much money is never enough money. Well, we're going to find out today. How far back am I going to have to scroll? That's the real question. Is there a way to search? Does anyone know? I don't use Spotify. Maybe if I just Google the name of the podcast and then she'll have it like linked on her website or something. No. Damn it. $129. Which episode was 129? Allowing expansion. Okay, so let's start with 77, then we'll go to 129. I gotta write this down. Also, I have a fan blowing on me, so if there's like an annoying humming in the background. Oh my God, you guys. Okay, if there's an annoying humming, it's because of the fan. I'm laughing because when I wrote down 77 and 129, I didn't put like a number sign, hashtag. I put a dollar sign. I put $77 and $129. So if that is an indication for the fact that we're all about to get really rich, I don't know what is. Why did I do that? Okay, I feel like this might be the easiest way. So if I just scroll on her website here. Are you freaking kidding me? It ends at 79. Oh my God. Search on the left. Okay, like here? This is like so chaotic. Found it! Okay, thank you for your patience. So one day I will figure out how the internet works. Jean-Marc, welcome back. Nice to have you. Let's see. Okay, so how long is this podcast? It's only 28 minutes, so we can definitely listen to more than one. Let me know if the sound is working. Oh my god. Is it blasting for everyone else, or are my headphones aren't even that loud. Oh my god. Oh, that was last week's episode. Okay, why isn't this working? There we go. Okay, let me know how the sound level is. It's very loud for me. Loud, okay.
Welcome. You're listening to the Think Like an Entrepreneur podcast, because it turns out there's no such thing as a struggling entrepreneur.
Okay, how's that? I'm going to pause it a little bit. How is it in comparison to my voice? Does it need to be louder, quieter?
There are only business owners still operating from an employee mindset. I'm your host, business coach Catherine Morrison. Now let's dig in.
Oh my god, it just keeps getting louder. She's doing this, it's not me. A little lower. Okay, let's go halfway and see. It's still so loud.
How's it going, everybody? You got.
Now she's whispering. Oh my god, okay. If you're going to start a podcast, most recording softwares, whether you're using like Audacity or GarageBand or something like that, they have the ability to level out the sound. So there's no blasting loud and then super, super quiet. Like, I would think if I'm a millionaire, I could pay someone to do this for me.
Nice. It is the Christmas spirit up in here. I have
How's that?
3 kids, and it has been quite the journey for their Christmas gifts this year. My 5-year-old wanted this really random, like Marvel. They're called mashers. They're from the early 2000s, and he saw them in a YouTube video. And preparing to give those to him, I think I had to make like 5 different orders to get the exact characters that he wanted. And I think maybe what might have been frustrating for some people was totally just like such a joy for me to like go through every different listing to create this thing that I know is just gonna like give his heart so much joy. And I am in full on creation mode of the Brand Alchemy Accelerator for you guys, which is like a Christmas gift for you guys, right? Like when I think about the gift of a lifetime for you guys, the Brand Alchemy Accelerator is that. It is like a total amalgamation of years of intellectual property development and everything I've learned coaching so many people into multiple six-figure businesses.
Okay, I just adjusted the sound one last time. Let me know if it's okay.
And this journey of allowing yourself to be you and making money from that place is, I mean, it's better than mixable mashems from eBay. So let me just say, I cannot wait for you guys to dive into the course. And you guys, last week, I got this giant download of the entire creative vision of the photo shoot for it. And y'all, it is insane. Like, I don't want to ruin any of the surprises. But let's just say that
Okay, what is she talking about? I got really distracted by the blasting sound for the first 2 minutes. Can someone let me know what she's talking about? Because I'm confused.
the ideas I had for the photo shoot required someone being there to assist in the creative direction and implementation of the shots that I want. And so I posted online in some Facebook groups describing this very weird set of tasks that I needed someone to help with given what I want to capture in the shoot. And you guys, I love the world so much. I got a handful of recommendations, and then those recommendations weren't available, but one of the people that was recommended then gave me a recommendation of another woman that she knew, and it was just a random person's name and a Gmail address. And you can imagine my brain was a little bit like, what the hell are we doing? But speaking of not knowing how to do things, which we covered last week, My brain was like, we don't know how to find the person who we need to do these random weird tasks because it's not a job I've ever seen or heard of. But I just kept taking the next step in front of me. And now here we are. And the woman that got recommended that we found is like this amazing visual creative director and makeup artist. And having met her is taking the photo shoot in a really even more wild, even more creative direction than I had originally envisioned. And y'all, talk
This
about
woman's putting me to
fully
sleep.
embodying your fuck yes frequency. This woman we found is someone who's going to help activate and amplify some really potent codes in me, and that is for sure coming downstream to you guys. So not to mention, the shoot is going to be like visual magic, like totally the energy of play and magic. And I can't wait for that to just reverberate out into the internet ether, which is a super fun jumping off point because the entire shoot is so extra.
Okay, is the sound not good? I see a few people saying it's way too quiet, but it was blasting, so I had to turn it down. I can turn her up a little bit. I can turn it up more. Okay, I'll put it back to... Oh, I see. For some reason, it turned back down. Okay, this should hopefully be better.
So sharply tipped in the direction of too muchness and me allowing myself to embody that side of me that I spent basically most of my life tamping down. And today, we're going to talk about...
I had to... For those of you that jumped on a little late, the sound was insanely loud when we started, so I had to adjust it. I just adjusted it again, and I can continue to play with it if you need me to.
This idea of excess or enoughness. Because what's interesting is the same way I see entrepreneurs tamping their energy down, like watering themselves down and their message down and squashing themselves into boxes in their branding, you see that show up in their watered down goals and bank accounts. And it's so interesting to explore because I recently had a woman on Instagram reach out and ask me the question, how much money is enough? Like that there's some finite number of money that's enough. And after that, you're not supposed to have or want any more. So we're going to unpack that today. Now to start, let's talk about a different angle to open this conversation up from. Because I see people tell themselves that they are too much or that their monetary desires are too much. But I'm curious what happens if instead of asking yourself how much money is enough, what happens when you ask yourself how much impact is enough? How much impact do you want to have in the world?
Okay. I will keep messing with the sounds. I feel like maybe, again, because she blasted it at the beginning and then went back down to a volume, maybe I need to adjust a little bit more. So I have this system audio back at 100. Okay, you're saying it's better now. Okay, I'm not going to touch it. If in 2 minutes it's still really quiet, let me know and I'll mess with it again.
And explore your dream vision of the ultimate impact you want to have in your lifetime. Is it just in your small town? Is it global? Do you want to help 2 people? Do you want to help 2,000 people? Or do you want to help
Okay, this is what I want to know. Athena is asking, what fake guru is watering themselves down? I have yet to see any of these obnoxious Instagram business coaches who are watering themselves down. In fact, if anything, I wish they would water themselves down. Harrison's asking, why isn't she the charlatan most likely to water down your bank account? Okay, everyone's saying sound is good. Okay, awesome. Thank you for letting me know. I'm like, I can't tell on my end how it sounds for you, so super appreciate that. This individual says, she's always seemed so full of BS to me. I don't know what it is about her. I've always kind of felt like she was a grifter. I didn't know who this woman was until yesterday, so this is all new to me. Lisa says, I think a better question than how much money do you want is how much money do you need? Also, what skills do you have that could allow you to make money? That's always a good place to start. Am I right? We don't do that here.
2 million people. Now, if you have a cranky brain, you want to release that part right now. Tell it that it can go relax and take a break in the back room. Like, imagine your brain is a magical land of possibility, but it's guarded by a really aggressive dog.
Your brain is a magical land of possibility. I'm sorry. That's the most... I hate it.
That is most people's brains, right? They have been given really limited ideas of what is possible for them, and they take on those ideas, and it becomes the dog at the gate of possibility in their mind. So right now, Give that little dog inside of you, that little guard dog, give him a pat on the head, tell him he's safe, and ask him to go play for a little bit. Now close your eyes, unless you're driving, in which case definitely don't close your eyes, and take a long, slow, deep breath in. And now visualize the world you want to be a part of creating.
Speaking of dogs, here's mine.
Visualize your clients and the impact they'll have in their lives from their work with you. Visualize the ripples in time that come out. What changes in their lives as a result of working with you? What's different 3 generations from now in their lives and the lives of their descendants because of the decision they made to work with you? Imagine your ideal workday. Dream clients. A schedule that leaves you at the end of the day energized because you're so deeply in love with your work. And now tell me, what impact do you want to have in this world? Is there some amount of impact that is enough? And after that, it's just too much impact and you've got to stop.
Exactly. Richard says, ask the logical part of your brain to switch off for a little bit so you don't question anything that I'm going to say. Let me hypnotize you into believing that everything I say is true so that you will open your wallets and pay me all of your money.
Because listen, when I approach this topic from this angle, not all the times, but oftentimes, I find that the answer is as much as possible. There is often no limit, no wincing, no judgment of self for desiring to help that many people, for desiring to have that level of impact in the world. Like that expansiveness, that insatiable desire is okay when it's directed towards having a positive impact in the world. Now, if your answer is hesitant or you feel it,
So is she essentially saying that your desire to make money is fine as long as you're making impact? So you can scam people out of $100,000 as long as your desire is to help them. And the way you're going to help them is by putting them into so much debt that they finally have to believe in themselves enough to go get a job.
tightness around the question or shame around owning the answer to the question that came up, just check in and notice that the guard dog is probably still at the gate, right? And if the guard dog is at the gate, then that response isn't you. That response is conditioning that is blocking you from the gates to your inner temple, to your inner knowing. It's important to feel into the impact that is possible for you to make in the world, how good it feels, how expansive it is, because that's your truth, and it is a timeline you can choose and actively create.
This to me is so scary when I think about the type of people that this is likely targeting, allegedly, in my opinion. I just think back to when I was in a position to believe this sort of narrative of like, well, if you're experiencing fear, it's because you deserve XYZ and you just have to trust yourself. And it's just a story you're telling yourself. And if you could just overcome that imposter syndrome, then you'll be able to be successful. And the way you're going to overcome those fears and that lack of belief in yourself is by paying me, because I will teach you how to do it, because I was you and now I'm so successful, right? Like, I don't like this. Yes, Hillary says, who wants to tell her you can interact or impact people without charging them money? I do not believe this to be true. That must be a lie. That sounds like a broke person's mindset. Yes, very manipulative. That's what I was thinking.
As purpose-driven entrepreneurs, our impact is very directly correlated with our income. So your ability to make lots of money gets to be a direct reflection of the depth and breadth of the impact you're having in the world and the value you're creating within it.
Or hear me out. What if we... She's not going to like this. What if we volunteered our time to help people for free? What if we did things out of the goodness of our hearts and our actual desire to help people and not just to make as much money as possible? What if we did that? Why don't we just give it a little try and see how it works out?
Now let's talk about a common rubbing point here that I see a lot of purpose-driven people having around their income. A very common thought error is a thought about worrying that you don't want to be inaccessible to anybody if you charge the value of your services, or wanting to charge higher rates because you know the quality of your work is there, but you don't want to leave anybody out. And the mistake so many people make is undercharging and then marketing, not to people that value their work, but marketing to people who just want cheap or free things, or having a price that's so low that people can quote unquote try it, instead of marketing to people who deeply value you and what you offer. And then the entire energy of the exchange is lukewarm when that's where you put yourself in this band of like undercharging. People who buy end up being the people that value cheap, overvaluing you or your solution.
So charge a lot of money. Otherwise, you're going to get a bunch of broke bitches in your programs.
And that creates, very often, a person who feels resentful and burnt out, and the business doesn't grow or scale. Versus deciding, I value myself highly, I value my work highly, I will price accordingly, and then I will dedicate myself to creating amazing free content for the people who are growing their way into working with me. Like you guys, do you know how many people have started their business and used just this podcast content alone to make the minimum $10,000 investment to join the mastermind? The reason I have been able to grow my business so quickly is because my free content here is leagues better than most people's paid content. I have heard it time and time again when people apply for the mastermind, that when they listen and apply the work from the podcast, because remember, the coaching doesn't work unless you work the coaching. But when it's then applied and implemented, the results are inevitable. And so to those of you that are keeping yourselves small in an attempt to help more people, I want you to consider for a moment how many more people you will help by deciding to expand into your potential and being big in the world.
Yes, Athena says it's so manipulative and terrible advice, and said so cheerily. I say this in every single stream, but I can't unhear it. Where did he go? Oh, he's over here. All of these people speak with the exact same cadence, and it's almost hypnotic. When they're talking, you're listening, even though they're saying nothing, you're kind of like, oh, I mean, I'm not, but I'm sure someone who would believe it would think that. Exactly. This comment says, the sad thing is I would have bought into all of this and maybe even paid her at one point. And that's what I think about. Every time I listen to this, I think back to Danielle of 2018 and how I absolutely would have listened to a podcast like this and been like, oh, this is revolutionary. Where do I put my credit card? And we're wondering if anyone has been in her mastermind or worked with her. I'm curious what it's like in her containers. I haven't spoken with anyone, I don't think, that has worked with her, but if you have, call me.
Which will mean creating a body of intellectual property and thought leadership for free that is accessible to a large number of people. Think about how many people you will be helping for free when you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars per year. And now, think about growing and compounding from there, right? Your audience expanding all across the world, and how you'll be helping 100 times more people for free when you're making millions of dollars.
Will you, though, if our focus is not to do things for free and to make money through impact? Please tell me, give me an example of one of these multi-million-dollar coaches who is now volunteering their time and doing stuff for free. No. Any of the ones I see are just continuously on to the next grift, the next grift, the next grift, adjusting their paid programs. Sure, maybe some of them might drop their prices because they aren't getting the enrollments they used to, but they certainly aren't out here doing the work for free. Unless I'm wrong, somebody show me someone that's volunteering their time, because I have yet to see it.
That's how it works. And now notice how big impact feels in your body. Feel into it. When you think about having that level of impact into the world, where do you feel it in your body? Notice how your body responds to the thought of all of those people all around the world whose lives will be fundamentally changed and altered because they meet you and come into relationship with your work. How does it feel? Really sink into it. Describe it. And now, let's change the question. What happens when you think about making that much money? How does huge amounts of money swirling all around you feel? Feel into it. Think about tons of people giving you tons of money. How do you feel in your body thinking about that right now? Tons of people giving you tons of money. Where do you
Exactly, Julie. Give me so much money so that I can work for free later. But right now I'm not working for free. Right now I'm working for $10,000. Center Mastermind is $10,000. So you have to pay me $10,000 so that maybe in 10 years I can work for free.
feel it? What's the visceral response? Just notice when you think about that, tons of people giving you tons of money. What's happening in your body? Did it relax? Did it expand? Or did your body contract? Did you tense up thinking about tons of people giving you tons of money? Did you start to feel uncomfortable? Because you want to log that. If you logged a constriction or tensing up, it's a sign, right, that there's unconscious, immediate responses in your body. That's like the treasure map to some uninvestigated beliefs that are currently standing between you and receiving money, right? Notice on the first one, if you're very comfortable with the impact of giving, right? Like I'm very comfortable giving a lot, but then you have a different feeling when you think about receiving a lot, you want to notice that, right? How often do you allow yourself to answer the question, how much money do you want? Not how much money do you need? Just this, how much money do you want? Because here's the other side of it. And this is the part of the podcast where Catherine's former financial planning training is going to come in. The starting baseline of how much money is enough is how much it costs for you to run the business of your dreams and to live the life of your dreams. For some of you, that might be living in a really nice remodeled Airstream and traveling around the country on mobile wheels and camping outside regularly just for fun and working from your laptop and never growing beyond just you. For others, it's living on a beachfront property in Hawaii and flying your family first class every year out to come see you. And
Phoenix says, making tons of money doing a whole lot of nothing comes with a ton of risks. Risk number one that comes to mind for me, getting sued for being a scammer. Just saying.
paying in full for all of your children to attend university. It's having a team to delegate a lot of your day-to-day business tasks to free you up for the very high-level business strategy and intellectual property development and value creation. The price breakdown of those two is very different. One is not better than the other. And when you do this exercise, you want to check where the desire is coming from. Like parsing out what is genuine desire, like that pulse of following your own unique aliveness, and where you might still have fragments of other people's dreams or disbelief of possibility stuck to you. Like, do you desire to fly your family in first class from a place of wanting to lavishly care for them because you love them so much? Or do you want to do it as a middle finger to your brother-in-law that once said during a holiday dinner that you would never amount to much, right?
Holy Spirit, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for subscribing. All I have to say to that is this.
Now you are one of us. One of us. One of us.
Thanks so much for being here.
You would want to log that. Where is it coming from? Or let's say it was the Airstream one, right? Like, do you want to live in an Airstream because it sounds super fun and you love it? Or is it because you don't believe that you can have the beachfront property?
Julie says, my ethics prevent me from getting rich. If you have a moral compass, this live video is not for you because you cannot get rich if you feel guilty stealing money from other people, okay? We cannot have that attitude here.
And so you tell yourself that you should just be okay and that like having an Airstream is kind of hip, right? You want to make sure that the energy of it is desire. Make your wish list, all of the ins and outs of your dream life, and do a quick check-in on your reasons. Make sure that you like the reasons, that they feel good and expansive to you, and that they spring from desire. And then start to actually get some numbers on them. In the mastermind, we do this a lot because we have a lot of people leaving jobs, quite often very high-paying jobs, like multiple six figures. And that requires real, tangible financial planning.
Quit your six-figure job so you can struggle to make $50,000 as a coach.
Like, I have a masterminder right now who is looking to uproot from the States and a six-figure job and move her family down to Costa Rica. She's made in her first year more than most U.S. employees make and self-employed people ever, right, in her first year. And so we're digging into the actual math of what it's going to take for her to uproot and move her family down to Costa Rica. Because so often we have very little actual math and just a ton of stories in our mind about what we think is possible and why it might not work.
Okay, if you're running a business and you don't know the actual math about, you know, how much money you're making or how much your life is going to cost, that's a red frickin' flag right there. I mean, whether you have a business or a job, I would hope you have like a budget or something and you know approximately how much money's coming in, what your expenses are on a monthly basis. Like, red flag. This is the part. It's like, if none of these people have actually owned a business, they don't understand that in order to run a business, you must be running, you know, a profit and loss to understand where you're at. Like, what? I know right now, I run a business, for context, if you're new here. I would be able to tell you right now whether or not I could afford something if you told me how much it was going to cost me. Like, what?
And as she's looked at it, pricing out housing and childcare, it's obvious that her dream is so much closer than her brain thought. And here's the thing. It's not like you reach your current dream and then you're done. Your expansion will continue. I recently had a VIP day with a private client, and she'll do $1 million next year in her business. And I started pushing her for the desires that she's been yearning for, but she hasn't allowed herself to really put pen to paper on. And she wants multiple properties in cities around the world. And anything is possible, but then to plan for it, we started looking at like, okay, when do you want to buy these by? Are they going to be investment properties? Okay. How much do you want to put down? Do you want to have, put down more and have them cash flowing from the start? Or do you want to put down less and have a longer term play of not making much monthly if you're renting them, but then having a handful of fully paid off properties by the time that retirement comes, right? This is financial planning. Now, of course, things can change. Your desires can shift. Your plans can change. But I'm guessing there isn't a dream future you have where you're struggling financially and you're not exceptionally well resourced.
Yes, but just because I don't want to be in debt in the future, even if I believed it wholeheartedly, I do not dream of debt. That doesn't mean that magically I'm never going to be in debt. Like, oh, this is so annoying. It's like we can't just think things are going to come true and then they magically come true, especially if we don't have the skill or ability to make them come true.
Like, you guys, fun fact. If you are a longtime listener of the podcast, you know my soul is called to own land. I keep seeing visions of it in meditation, and I've actually now had friends receive similar visions of seeing me on it, and I know it's in my future. It's soul-led though, right? So I don't know exactly where it will be, and I don't know exactly when. And so I'm doing my rational mind part right now, and I'm financially planning for it. I'm not saying like, well, I don't know when and where, so I'm just not going to plan for it at all, right? You better believe money is getting socked away like a squirrel preparing for winter, because I want to do my part in co-creating with the universe in this vision. Now, this is like the next step after the vision board that most people do. Like, everybody loves pinning the pictures of their desires to the Pinterest board, but a much smaller percentage of people actually do this next step. The part where you actually break down all of the stuff into real tangible numbers, and then you make a business plan to support the creation of it.
Oh, you mean like budgeting and creating a profit and loss and understanding your financial targets? Is that what we're talking about? Guys, we might be, for the first time ever on this channel, we might be about to get, that might not be good English, we might be about to get real financial advice. Guys, I'm ready. I got my pen, my paper. Let's go.
Like, for sure, make a vision board. Do that part. Love it.
Okay,
Let it be light and
Vision
creative
board.
and airy and fun. But then we gotta ground that shit into the world. And once you have the numbers, the math of it, then you want to look at your thoughts about it. Otherwise, it's not useful. It's not useful to have thoughts before you have.
God damn it. She didn't actually teach me anything. I hate it here.
Of the math, because it's then just sort of this nebulous cloud floating up in the air randomly based on whatever your brain's random ideas are about what the math might be, but it doesn't even know. So you want to get the math as an anchor, right? Think about exactly the dream business you want to run, how much that's going to cost to run, get the math on like the life of your dreams, the exact house you want to have, right? As much clarity, as much detail as you currently have right now, and now get an anchor so that then you can see based on the math that you would start to come up with, what are your thoughts about the math?
Sorry, what's the anchor? Can someone explain to me what the anchor is? I must have missed that when I tuned out this absolute garbage nonsense. This comment is alleging that Catherine sells herself as a self-made success and that she's built her business like the rest of us, when she in actuality already had a net worth of over $1 million when she left her job. In investments? Real estate? What's the tea?
And then you want to get coached regularly and consistently as you're implementing your plan. You would not believe the number of business owners that don't have goals or intentions. Like they're just sort of randomly showing up every day. Not sure towards what, not sure how to measure their progress then, obviously. And then, of course, they don't know if they're on track because they're not tracking to anything.
Is that because most business coaches don't actually know anything about business? Because I've heard from multiple different people's experiences that when they asked their coach a question related to income, expenses, profit and loss, the coach said, that's a mindset issue and we're not thinking about that. We don't do that here. You need to just believe in yourself. Maybe that's why.
And then they wonder why their business is in the same place it was 5 years ago. Don't do that. Now, here's a couple things to keep in mind as you go about doing this. Your audience is not responsible for you being able to afford your dreams or not. Your brand and your marketing messaging is responsible for that. And you have complete 100% control over making that a home run grand slam success through your energy, your mindset, and your skill sets. Next, watch when your brain feels like it's in a hurry to get to the future because it thinks it will somehow be better there than here. Because here's the thing, guys, it's not better there. Your brain might tell you it's going to be perfect and the skies will part and the angels will sing once you have your beach house. But then, you know what's going to happen when you have your beach house? You're going to get there and you're going to get annoyed by how often sand gets dragged into the house. How it just sort of seems like sand gets everywhere.
Exactly. Harrison says, if you don't believe you'll be poor, you won't have money. Wait, what? If you don't believe you'll be poor, you won't have money to send. You won't have any issues sending me money. I'm sorry, I can't read right now. I read it in my head the first time correctly. If you don't believe you'll be poor, you won't have an issue sending me your money. Got it. I love it. And as for this question about her business before this, we can look at her about page after we're done listening to this episode.
And your brain will get irritated about how your skin feels sticky all the time from wearing sunscreen out all the time. And then the sand sticks to the sticky sunscreen. Your human brain is still going to be a human brain. And so whether it's how you think your business will somehow be better when you're making, X dollars per month, or it thinks your life will somehow be better when you have Y, you just want to be really onto yourself that is a thought error. Which helps solve a common pattern I see, which is that once people understand that they create their reality, like they really see that they're 100% responsible for how much their business is making or not making, and they put a stake in the ground on what that looks like for themselves, and they're owning their dreams, or like, this is my stake in the ground, then their brain somehow thinks it's a good idea to come back and resist their current reality. Like that will somehow help them move to the future faster. Now look, I've just never seen that pattern be useful. Common, yes, very common, but useful in any way? No. Never.
Richard's asking, why does her laugh sound so forced and unnatural? This is what I'm imagining. And I'm not saying this is what she does, but like in my head, this is what I'm thinking. Pretend that I have my script on my phone. And then you will imagine yourself to be whatever, rich, successful. And then in the script, in like brackets, it would be like insert laugh. So I'm like, you'll imagine yourself to be successful. And then we will picture ourselves having so much money. It's so fake. Oh my God, I hate it.
Being poor is hard. Being rich is hard. Choose your hard. Hiding in your business and not showing up and feeling ashamed of yourself is hard. Being big online and showing up and fully feeling empowered and cheering yourself on through all the ups and downs you can't control is hard. Choose your hard. Living in a cramped house full of old things you don't like is hard. Living in a giant mansion with all the upkeep and household staff is hard. Choose your hard. Now listen, we could go through that.
Living in a shitty little rundown shack is hard, but you know what's even harder? Living in a massive giant mansion where you have staff that look after everything for you. That's hard, guys. Feel bad for me that I'm so rich. I live in a massive house that I have to hire a house cleaner and a cook and a nanny because my life is hard. You don't understand my struggle. Like, this is so tone deaf.
Exact same, right? Like all of those scenarios, and then find what's easy about them. and then say, okay, choose your easy, right? You just get to choose what experience you want to have. Obviously, it's wise to choose the experience that moves you towards your biggest vision and your juiciest dreams. And when you
Yeah, guys, if you're poor and not happy with your life, you just didn't decide right. Like, you guys are idiots. If you don't like your life, decide something else. Just decide to be rich, decide to be happy, and choose your hard. Exactly. You guys get it. I'm glad we're all on the same page here.
do that, you create new and different experiences for yourself. You grow. Like, have you ever had old friends that you knew from a long time ago, and then you talk to them and literally nothing has changed for them in 10 years? It's like they're just on Groundhog Day, a day in and day out, year after year after year after year after year. That's fine. I just don't think many people are consciously choosing that. If you recognize that you're the creator of your life and you get to have whatever it is that you want, chances are you're going to choose to create new and different experiences for yourself that call you to grow, to be a bigger, more expansive version of yourself, right? And let's talk about what expansive means, right? Because the person who lives in a mansion because that feels expansive and juicy to them should live in the mansion. But the person who wants to live in a tiny cabin in the middle of the woods because that feels genuinely expansive and magical to them, they should live in a cabin.
I wonder if Elon Musk refers to his mansion as juicy. Like, what? Rich people live in mansions because it feels juicy. Guys, I live in a condo because it just feels really juicy and magical. Not because I need fucking somewhere to live. Like, what?
The mansion person isn't better than the cabin person, and the cabin person isn't better than the mansion person. In the same way, the entrepreneur who has a $20 million business helping tens of thousands of people because that's what they feel called to do isn't any better than the entrepreneur who decides to run a business, an initiative to revitalize the downtown area of the small town they live in.
She's reading a script for sure.
But listen, if the person was staying in their small town because they're scared, that would be a problem. Or if the entrepreneur grew a $20 million business, not because they wanted to help people, but because they were hoping then if they had a $20 million business, that then their father will finally be proud of them, that would be a problem, right? So you always want to check the energy of what's motivating you. And when you think about how much money you want to have, that is guided by both desire and will be created and spent through the lens of your core values, then that's the amount that is enough for you. And when you have gratitude and enjoyment of every step of your journey along the way, right? It's not like you're only going to be happy once you get to the goal. You recognize that the process is who you become on the journey getting to your goal, then you've won the lottery.
No, but when you think like this, and I'm sure other people in the chat can relate to this, especially if you've ever had your own business, you're never happy. You never reach a goal and then are like, hit my quota, feeling happy. It's like, no, you work towards something. You hit that goal and then you're immediately like, okay, what's next? At least that's been my experience. That's been the experience of most entrepreneurs that I know. You never really find that deep sense of happiness just because you hit the target that you set out to accomplish. That's such a incorrect way of thinking, allegedly, in my opinion. Thank you so much. E-guitar player sent a coin with a star. Thank you, thank you, thank you. To that, I will say this.
Raise your hand if you want to get rich.
I want to get rich. If you want to get rich, you're in the right place. And in fact, I just got super rich off the $1.49 sticker you sent me. So thank you so much. I hope you're having a great day. She clearly has never had to deal with a budget, or she knows that she's peddling BS. Oh my God, this is nuts. Yeah, sometimes the chat will stop working, so I have to turn it off and then turn it back on.
Because here's the deal, in the end, we all die. We're all going to the same place, rich or poor. And so that we live our journey in the way that we want to, having the impact we want to, on our path of creating the money is, in the end, all that matters. And who we become on that journey allows us to activate and amplify the biggest, most delicious, expansive expressions of ourselves in the world.
I hate that. I hate when any of these people, and I've seen copywriters that use this language too, when they refer to words or like things that aren't food as juicy, delicious, etc., like that kind of verbiage does not resonate with me. I want to meet someone who actually talks like that, other than this lady who probably, like someone said, used ChatGPT to write this script for her.
And the feeling that comes with that limitless feeling, the feeling of true liberation, the technicolor lenses with which you begin to see and experience the world with, it's worth it. All right, you guys, come tell me on Instagram what this brought up for you. Come share your favorite insight, which you're taking away, and exactly how you're implementing it for 2022.
Everyone go to her Instagram and tell her how much you hate this. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Please do not ever message any of the people I put in my content, because I don't know them and I don't care to know them. And it doesn't really matter who they are. It's just nonsense. Allegedly, in my opinion. John Mark, to answer your question, I am drinking a orange cream soda flavored sparkling water, only available in Canada. Delicious. A tasty little summer treat because it's like 35 degrees outside and I'm melting. Harrison says, if you sell your soul and morals as a business coach, we will not end up in the same place in the afterlife. Okay, let's go ahead and we're going to listen to the other episode requested was 129, which was allowing expansion from 50,000 to 500,000. But first, we're going to look at her about page because we want to know whether or not this woman has owned a business before. Does she not have an about page on her website? Okay, here we go. Within my first 3 years, I scaled to over $1 million purely through organic marketing, and I've coached countless new entrepreneurs into 6 and multiple six-figure businesses, making more than they ever dreamed possible in the job their mind told them they had to do. Sorry. The question is no longer, is it possible? The question is, it's here. Are you coming with us? Okay, so she doesn't actually tell us. From $5,000 months to a $500,000 business. Okay. So it doesn't seem like what if I manually do this? Does she have an about page? Okay, she does. It's just hidden. Secreto. I'm a bit of a mad woman on a career happiness rampage. I have no idea how it took me so long to realize I wasn't meant to be an employee. I'm a little feral, and so are my clients. Interesting choice of words. I'm self-motivated. I love working and creating value for the world. I'm an out-of-the-box thinker. Guys, I'm not a normal girl. I'm a cool girl. I like to think like things that other people don't think because I'm so edgy and cool. Blah, 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 vision for the future. I'm committed to being a part of the solution rather than leaving it at keyboard activism and complaining at the water cooler. Interesting. I'm committed to being a part of the solution, and the part of the solution is to scam people out of their money. Allegedly, in my opinion. I was actually an amazing employee. I got shit done. I didn't need instructions. I couldn't stand micromanagers, or come to think of it, anybody trying to manage me. I would look at the executive team at the strategy company I was taking and see all of the ways I would do it differently because I'm so much smarter than everyone and everyone else is a little dumb idiot and I know best. So like I could have been the executive at the, C-suite level, but I just actively chose not to because I'm so much better than those people. It wasn't for me. Both from an industry and societal perspective, and knew there had to be a better way, and so do my clients. What I bring to the table is a decade of business strategy and development experience. Prior to coaching, here we go. I scaled tech startups by tens of millions of dollars and worked with many of the top Fortune 100 companies to create their most cutting-edge digital innovation. I now leverage all those chops to help my clients think strategically and create revenue in a sustainable way. In addition to strategy, I'm a certified professional coach with the ICF, and I'm coaching at the highest level of my industry in practices based in cognitive behavioral therapy and neuroscience. Okay, we should someone who's ICF certified can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I don't think coaches should be doing CBT with their clients. Given that cognitive behavioral therapy has the word therapy in the description, I believe we should leave that for a licensed therapist, no? We shouldn't be doing CBT. Ay. Anyway, I digress. What does the jargon actually mean? It means I know what the fuck I'm doing, and I'm ready to help you get super clear on how to become an entrepreneur so that you can ramp up. We got another dog fight going on. We can ramp up your income and ramp out your 9 to 5. I love business. I love wild people who see change they want to create in society. Oh my God. Sorry. This is like painful to read. I love wild people who see change they want to create in society or their industry and are ready to roll up their sleeves and do it. I have a heart of gold, but I'm not fucking around, and neither are my clients. Oh my God. This is giving me like, I think I'm the best person in the whole world. I'm incredible. I'm so amazing. And everyone just needs to recognize it and pay me all their money. Does that sound good to you? Let's do it. Okay, let me get caught up on your comments because that was a lot. Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, she's actually saying this? That's how I felt reading this entire thing. Richard says, she definitely doesn't earn enough for us to have a second home anywhere, never mind in France. Although, oh, this is, you're talking about your wife. Sorry. I thought you were talking about this woman. I'm not that kind of coach. That was the impression I got. It's like Mean Girls. I'm a cool mom. Nothing wrong with being an employee. It's giving narcissism. Never the ones you expect. Exactly. Okay. That's for therapists and counselors, CBT. WTF, she needs licensing to do CBT with clients, I would think. Now, an interesting thing is that it has been speculated by many people, not just me, that the model that Brooke Castillo teaches in the life coach school is basically like a derivative of CBT. And I believe she herself has said that it is. Don't quote me on that. But for sure, if you look at like what the practice of CBT is, and then you look at the model that Brooke teaches, it's very similar. So I don't know if this woman has worked with the life coach school, but someone in the chat, I think, said so. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised that she thinks that that's okay. You can also take a CBT course on Udemy or something and pretend, you know, anything is possible if you believe it enough. This is so embarrassing to read. Yeah, that was like a little bit of a mouthful. Julie says, are we certain she didn't mean CBD? You know what? You might be onto something. She sounds so obnoxious. Yeah, I wonder if she intentionally hid this page so that people can't find it. Because she like wants to redo it, but hasn't done it yet. So I wasn't supposed to see this, but... Ay. Okay. So that's a little bit more about her. I still don't really understand what her job was. Like, she just says, I bring a decade of business strategy and development experience. So what was your job? That would be helpful to know. But anyway, I digress. Let's go into episode 129, allowing expansion from 50,000 to 500,000, because it's been a while since I've learned how to get rich, and I'm ready. I'm finally ready to get rich, so today's going to be the day. If we can find it. Here we go. Show notes. Following last week's podcast on the first 50,000, this week breaks down the shifts needed to allow yourself to expand from 50 to 500,000 and beyond. From the 3 parts of your business that you can begin looking at scaling and the micro levelers within each category to 2 big identity shifts needed along the way. We're diving deep into the ingredients needed to easily scale in alignment. Say a lot of words without saying anything at all. That's the challenge. Okay, let's go ahead and see what the sound is like. Let me know if I need to adjust it. Oh, I can't even play it. What the hell? Your player is broken, lady.
The dream economy is here. Are you coming?
Skip.
Quantity of money.
Skip.
Clients dropping in out of
Skip.
business growth is always building. It's business.
We took
Oh my god, the music is so loud.
a full-on deep dive into story time of my first $50,000. And I loved hearing from so many of you on how useful it was to hear about that. Because let's be real, in the very beginning, you haven't created an audience yet. And if you come into the online business space and think you need to know all the things first, you could spend years learning about lead magnets and funnels and building an audience and have very little money to show for it. It's like, oh, I'm building it. I'm getting ready. You can sign clients very quickly from ground zero, right where you are. It doesn't have to be hard. It's actually quite simple. Business can be simple. Business should be simple.
You guys can get so rich without doing any work. All you have to do is promise people that you're going to teach them how to get rich and then get them to pay you anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000. And then once they pay you, just don't deliver. That's not your problem. That's a them problem. They're the little dumb idiots that need to learn that they shouldn't have trusted you in the first place. Not my problem. I'm so rich now. That's the secret, guys. Now, everyone e-transfer me $10,000 for that life-changing advice. Please and thank you.
But today, I wanted to dive into what it looks like to go from those first dollars, your first $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, to growing into your first $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. And this one will be less of me sharing my personal experience. I mentioned last week, I have so many podcasts from me running. I think I started this podcast when I was at around 100,000, I think. So I have so many podcasts documenting like my first $200,000 launch, the accelerator making 200,000 in 9 months, and like all of those things, my first $300,000 a year, like all of those are episodes. You can go back and find them. But today I wanted to sort of break down the different pieces of what happens as you go to scale. Because listen, once you get those first clients under your belt, you start delivering and seeing happy clients, and you know what is possible in the online.
Richard, that was a tease for the type of content you will learn in the billionaire tier. I only said I was going to teach you how to make $10,000. If you want to learn how to make $1 billion, that's going to cost you $20.
Business world, where you literally have hundreds of millions of potential clients at your fingertips, when you really deeply know the power and potency of your work in the world, and you are aware of the entire global market you have access to at your fingertips with the internet, business gets really fun, really hot, really fast. And this growth from your first 30, 40, 50K to your first 300, 400, 500K is really the work you will be coming in and implementing inside the Pleasure and Precision Mastermind. But I wanted to break down specifically, like, what are sort of the principles? What are some of the things that you'll be looking at when you're looking at the levers of scaling? We're going to talk about it today. A lot of you are making like, even in $10,000 a year, you have scalable things in your business. So a lot of you have thoughts about scaling and you don't even realize you're already often in. You've already pulled many levers of having a scalable model that you haven't even looked at and acknowledged yourself for. So,
okay, this isn't actually an interesting conversation because I was having this convo with a friend of mine who is in the like entrepreneurship space. She's a music producer. And we were having this conversation about scalability and how she read some book. I don't know what book it was. And I was expressing how like I have no desire to scale my business. I don't want to hire employees. I don't want people to do things for me so that I can work less and make more money. I like to do the work that I do. Oh, my camera's going to die. Uno momento. Hopefully we're back. Oh God. Okay, we're good. So we were having this conversation. We're talking about scaling. She's saying like, oh, I learned all these strategies to, scale out of my business. Why don't you hire an editor? Why don't you do all these things? And I was like, dude, I don't want to do that. I don't want my job to go from me actually doing the work that I enjoy doing. For context, those of you that don't know, I make silly little TikToks on my phone for companies, small businesses, startups, that kind of thing. I don't want to outsource that work to someone else so that I can work on like getting more clients, because I actually genuinely enjoy doing that work. And so a lot of these coaches focus so heavily on like, here's how to scale your business. Here's how to grow your business. Here's how to like hire people so that they can do the work so that you can focus more on the high level stuff. It's like, what if I actually like doing the work? Don't most of us start our businesses because we want to actually do the thing that we enjoy doing? Why are we so focused on scaling, making all this extra money when it's also going to increase our costs and lower our profitability? Are we really making extra money at the end of the day? I don't get that mindset.
Now, here's one thing I want to say. I do not coach a set process. Like everyone goes through this process and every single person has to follow this, because I understand every person is different and every person has unique energetics, and that will determine what your specific roadmap is, right? Like your offer, your business model. With everything, we start with your brand, who you are and what you stand for in the world, the codes and the energy that your soul was meant to transmit into the world. And then in the mastermind, we build an entire house of energy where every facet of your business is a reflection of your consciousness and your energy, your values and your soul. So people hit your customer support team and they experience your energy living there. They experience your copy, and it's not written in a clear, concise way that explains what you do from a very head level kind of way.
Exactly. Monica says not only that, but then you have to think about paying people. I was having this conversation with a different friend who had posted on Threads something to the effect of like, not everyone wants to scale their business. And I was saying how like I have no desire to A, have to like tell staff what to do, but B, then have the worry of like, okay, well, I have to constantly be finding leads, enough leads, not only so I can pay myself, but so that, you know, Jane Doe that I hired can pay her bills too. Like there's so much added responsibility and stress that comes with scaling your business that they don't talk about. They just talk about hire people to do the work so that you can work less and make more money. But what about the part where like I actually still have to find even more clients now because I'm not just paying myself, I'm also paying all these other people that work for me, right? Like, ay. So we did while you were gone. This question is asking, I'd love to hear her origin story. We read her about page. It didn't really give us much insight other than she worked in corporate. She worked in business strategy, but she didn't really say exactly what she did. So it wasn't very helpful.
It's rather written in a clear way that expresses what you do through who you're being. The words are just a conduit to sharpen that and transmit it into the marketplace. In a world still rife with business done in a wounded masculine way, I am helping to form a new paradigm of leaders whose structures stand like sparkling crystal mountains in a landscape of grayscale stone structures. So sure, that sounds pretty, but what does it actually mean in a practical way for you as you're looking at growing into multiple six figures? Let's start with the fundamental identity shift we will work on inside of Pleasure and Precision.
If you go back about probably 10, 15 minutes in the stream now, you can see me reading the about page. It really wasn't, it just said she built a business in 3 years to $1 million and now she does this. But I'm assuming it was a coaching business. So I don't know if she has business experience outside of coaching other than business strategy.
First, you have to stop looking at yourself as a person who puts out marketing, and you have to start embodying yourself as a person building a body of work for your community, in your industry, in this.
But that's what you guys are doing. None of these coaches are actually building anything. They're just doing marketing and sales. They're not actually building a business. They're using marketing to convince people that they can also build a business, right?
World that creates a legacy for you that goes far beyond your lifetime. I've mentioned this before, but this is one of the big differences I've noticed between entrepreneurs that shoot to the moon and those that either struggle to grow or who have really volatile and unintentional up down cycles in their income. When you stop looking at what you want to do this year, or even worse, what you quote unquote should be doing this year, or even in the next few years, and you start zooming out to what change you are committed to creating in your lifetime, and you're willing to devote yourself now in the here and now to that change, you start playing a very different game than most other humans on this planet. And that up-level game is the game of thinking bigger, energetically expanding yourself wider, and putting the business strategy in place to make that a reality here in the 3D. Literally, just take a moment now and feel into these phrases. Just literally attune yourself to the words as you hear me speak them. Let them light up inside your brain, those beautiful neural networks in there, and then drop into your body and experience them as your identity. Ready?
If you feel it, you can believe it, and you will absolutely achieve it.
I have to make some marketing posts. I'm working on my marketing strategy. I'm learning how to market. Just check in. How do those feel?
Okay, sorry. So we're supposed to listen to what she says and then ask ourselves how it feels. Am I following that correctly? I'm confused about what we're supposed to be doing here.
And now try these on. I am building a body of work that creates a legacy. I am building my company as a powerful house of energy that shifts entire timelines and paradigms on this planet. I am an embodiment of the legacy work I am creating right now in real time. Feel how differently the energy of those sentences are. Feel the power differential between those sentences.
I actually wasn't listening to what the sentences were, so I guess I'm not going to get rich. Hopefully somebody was listening.
When you play little games, you win little prizes. When
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Good one.
you play big games, you win big prizes. My masterminders are up-leveling into the arena where big games are played. And I want to double click into this for a moment. And if you're with me on the regular up in Instagram stories, you know. But last week, when I did the $50,000 episode, I asked my community on Instagram to give me questions, and I got tons of questions, maybe more questions than I'd ever received on any question I've ever asked. And then when I started talking about this episode, people were voting that they wanted this episode, but there were very few questions. Like the decline in engagement and number of questions was super sharp. It was notable to me. And as a coach, I'm always tracking. I'm like, okay, so that, like, what thought pattern were a lot of these people in that created that, where they opted out? They thought, I can be part of the $50,000 conversation, but I can't be part of the $500,000 conversation. And so I came on the next day and I asked why. And so many of you said that, well, I'm not even at 50,000 yet. So why would I be thinking about 500,000?
How many people do we think is so many? So many people were asking me about where I got this can of soda water that I'm going to make a whole video talking about it because so many of you asked. Literally no one asked. Like, I'm sorry.
And I thought that was so fascinating because you know what I'm thinking about all the time right now? 5 million. And do you know what I was thinking about when I was making $50,000 a year? $500,000.
Yeah, guys, you want to know how I grew my YouTube channel to 25,000 subscribers? When I posted my very first YouTube video, I just knew that my channel would reach 25 million. So that's how I did it. I just knew it.
The game that way too many of you are playing is way too small. You have to start feeling your way into that bigger game. You want to start creating safety in your body around that bigger number and then start expanding your mind to the possibility of it. Which, by the way, thank you to my client, Angeline. So for those of you that are in the accelerator, if you didn't listen to the embodiment practice I did, let me look at what the date would be. Because for those of you who are like listening to this later, the accelerator call that we did on December 13th, the embodiment practice we started with, I jumped you into finding that safety and possibility in your body for the larger number. So you make sure if you missed that call, you go and watch the recording.
Guys, if you want to get rich, you just have to be able to embody the wealth in your body. What does this even mean? Okay, so if I want to make $1 million this year, I have to implant it into my timeline by embodying being $1 million earner. Got it. Okay, guys, it's happening. I can feel it in my soul.
when I was bringing this up on Instagram stories and I was asking why, my client dropped in and she was saying it was like because her nervous system would get really like she'd feel super ungrounded when she thought about the bigger number. And so I love it because when you all tell me these things, then I can create things inside of my programs to help you with it. So
John Mark, we are not living in the low vibration of 100,000 subscribers. We're going for 100 million subscribers, okay?
make sure if you're inside the accelerator, you check out, you can just replay that embodiment practice for yourself to make it a lived experience in your body. So that is a piece of the somatic work. But let's continue looking at the identity work. We're always working in my programs at every level, mind, body, soul. So when you're looking at that 30, 40, 50K to 300, 400, 500K, it's also the identity shift from I am a person with some clients to I am a leader in my community. I have my own audience. It's interesting. I have an accelerator member who recently joined, and she posted in our Facebook group about how when I talked about the word audience in marketing, it was triggering for her because she's just starting a brand new business and she was telling herself she didn't have an audience. And the truth is that when you're just starting out, like you heard from me last week, you got to be willing to be scrappy. You don't need your own audience and you don't have to wait to build your own audience to make money. Hell, I have had so many of my clients hit 6 and multiple 6 figures, literally just posting on their own personal social media.
I want to address this comment. Zip says, I don't know, maybe creating a product that people want to buy has more to do with making more money than thinking about big numbers. Ding, 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 ding. As per Harrison's comment here, imagine how many subscribers you'd have if you were ridden with mindset issues and common sense and experience. Exactly. Why would we use logic and actual business strategy, guys, when we could just believe our way to building a 6-figure business? Come on. Don't waste your time with this nonsense of building a product or service people actually want to buy and just believe it to be true, okay? Let's stop with the broke-hater mindset.
Like to their own personal network, right? But as you start to move into multiple 6 figures in that solopreneur to entrepreneur transition, you want to really start looking at how do I start to build my own audience? And to do that, you have to really feel into your body and come into, and I am a leader of that audience. I am a leader of that community. And that seems so beautiful and aspirational, doesn't it? Like to own your space as a leader. But something I have found for so many of my clients is that there is actually push-pull energy around assuming leadership. And some of that stems from visibility stuff, like fear of being seen. Some of that can also stem from perfectionism stuff, like ego stuff, like fear of making mistakes to a larger crowd. But for a lot of my clients, it's stuff that goes really, really deep into what the imprinting of leaders has meant to many of us who have suffered at the hands of wounded masculine structures, where leaders has meant religious leaders who sexually abuse children and then the institution washes over it, where leaders has meant political leaders who make promises and don't keep them, where leaders has meant corporate leaders who say they're mission driven in their marketing, but then inside the walls of the business, everything is profit driven, even if that means at the expense of the proposed values that they said. They were so mission driven, so values driven, right? But really willing once inside the walls to forgo them. And if you're someone who has directly experienced this kind of power over leadership, and it has you subconsciously avoiding your own mantle of leadership because you don't want to be, quote unquote, one of them, or if you are part of a marginalized group that has experienced this power over dynamic, please know that trepidation and nervousness around the concept of leadership is completely normal and there is nothing wrong with you.
And I, as a white woman, will tell you how to overcome that. If you are from a minority group who has been systemically oppressed, don't worry. I will be your white savior, and I will help you get rich. I'm sorry, I can't take this seriously. What is happening? Yeah, it seems like they prey on women's insecurities with these business scams. 100%. All of these, I say this every freaking day. All of these programs, coaching offers, any of it, it's designed to target vulnerable people who are desperately looking for a solution to starting a business, leaving a job, leaving an abusive relationship, learning how to become independent, etc., etc., etc. They're offering them this like magic solution that's going to solve that problem for them, when the reality is they're going to end up in a worse off situation, most likely, financially especially. I think the self-concept stuff really targets women. I've never heard someone tell a man that if they believed in themselves more, they could make more money. Exactly. It's very, very fascinating to me. What about leaders who have podcast issues called How Much Money is Enough? While saying all that matters is impact. Doesn't make any sense. I think the men, the male influencers, like if we think of like the Grant Cardones, Tony Robbins of the world, they target more of like the ego side of things. Like, so it's more about like wealth generation through building, becoming, you know, a figure of authority and asserting your dominance and da 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 versus the like woo woo feel good.
But you want to begin lovingly showing that scared, avoidant part of you that leadership can be different. You can be part of the new paradigm coming forward. You can build a business that is a sparkling crystal mountain in a landscape of grayscale stone structures. You can be a leader and stay aligned and committed to your values. In fact, it's the foundation of the work we do in the mastermind. The body of work you will create, the legacy you will begin to build, the leadership platform you build and step out onto must come from your values and your unique energetic signature. You don't have to do shit the way everyone else is doing it in your industry. Remember, at this level, we are playing a different game. We aren't looking to our industry to define what we should be doing. That's a little game that wins little prizes. We look to our vision, the thing that we see as possible that hasn't been created yet, and we actively build the future. We innovate, we lead, we trailblaze. We are playing the big game that wins the big prizes.
No. Yes, this comment says, crazy how linked together all the top LCS coaches are. Like, they've all been in each other's stuff. It's not even just the life coach school students. It's literally all of the coaches. So I did a stream. Someone in the comments can correct me. I'm going to guess it was 4 or 5 months ago now, where we built out the, like, coaching pyramid. I don't know if you were here for that. But the lines start to go sideways because everyone, like, works under everyone. And it's very incestuous, for lack of a better term.
And we're playing that game from alignment, first and foremost, each and every time. So those are the major identity shifts that you'll go through in order to play at that bigger level, to quantum your income, to make insane amounts of impact, to literally begin to see the manifestation of the big vision you have in your mind start to reflect itself back to you here in the 3D. And as you make those identity shifts, you will begin to see more and more clients starting to drop in to work with you. You will start to see your reputation begins preceding you in your industry because you consciously created that happening. Remember last week I said, I decided where I wanted to be known, I decided how I wanted to be known, and I made myself known. Now, all of this for the community of leaders I am building comes with the expansion of your pleasure. And we begin to study and prioritize your desire, your pleasure, not just in the fabric of your business and life, but down to the details of the stitching of the fabric in your life and business. We aren't glorifying and celebrating your income if it's costing you your peace, your joy, and your radiance. We must build always in a way that teaches you the structure of business in the new paradigm.
You know what's costing me my peace, my joy, and my radiance? Giving my money away to these grifters.
Which is the more pleasure you allow yourself to experience, the more you attune to and follow your deepest desires, the more your business will grow. It's a very simple concept. It is much harder to, in every cell of your being, deeply embody it consistently. And it's why being in the mastermind, surrounded by others committed to doing life and business this way, matters so much.
Here we go, guys. Another podcast that is just a pitch for a mastermind program. Are we surprised? I'm not.
You just soak your mind, your body, and your soul into the room and teach it to calibrate, teach every cell in your body to calibrate, teach your mind to calibrate at an entirely different level, an entirely new way of being and interacting with the world. Now let's talk about scaling briefly. I won't dive into like too much of the nitty gritty today because I think I'll probably do more expansive episodes on it before the next mastermind enrollment in February.
Monica's asking, how is this supposed to help your business? Let me tell you, by listening to this podcast, you will learn how to gaslight yourself into believing that you deserve to be wealthy to the point where magically the universe will just reward you, Monica. So just fix your mindset, okay?
But As you become someone building a body of work and taking your position as a leader in your industry, you will create an influx of clients deeply desiring to work with you. And then you will actually need to have built business structures that allow you to accommodate and welcome the influx of people you've created.
I wonder this too. This comment says, I can't believe I used to listen to this and believe this stuff. I don't even know what I was thinking. That's how I feel. Now that I'm so far detached from this kind of attitude of like, if you believe it, it will become true. It's so like funny. It's comical now when I listen to this stuff that like, oh my God, this is so far detached from reality and how the real world works that I can't even connect with that version of myself that believed this stuff to be true.
So as you're looking at scaling, what scaling means is moving from a one-on-one format to a one-to-many format.
Hi, August. Okay? Welcome.
Which is important to note because making a lot more money in your business can happen without you ever doing anything to scale it. Like if you worked with clients one-on-one and the investment is $2,000 and then you raise your rates to $5,000 next year and you just sign the same number of clients or maybe even slightly lower, you could still end the year making double the money and having done nothing to actually scale your business, okay? Like you would still be...
What? I gotta re-listen to that. Is she... This woman's outing herself.
Many format, okay? Which is important to note because making a lot more money in your business can happen without you ever doing anything to scale it. Like if
you can make a lot more money in your business without ever doing anything to scale it.
You worked with clients one-on-one and the investment is $2,000.
So you work with clients for $2,000.
And then you raise your rates to $5,000 next year and you just sign the same number of clients.
And then you raise your rates to $5,000 and sign the same amount of clients. Why are we raising our rates?
Or maybe even slightly lower.
Have our results changed? Is the demand increasing to the point where we need to raise the price to like get rid of the people at the bottom?
You could still end the year making double the money and having done nothing to actually scale your business.
She just said the quiet part out loud. You can double the amount of money without actually doing anything. Oh my God, this is insane.
Okay, like you would still be spending the same amount of hours in that business. Versus when you look at scaling, which is looking at moving to a one-to-many format, you have three pieces of your business that we are going to look at. The first is really dialing in your front-end business precision, which is your marketing and selling. Now, coming on the back of last week's podcast, where you heard me talk about my first 50,000, you can see now in a high multiple six-figure business, the entire front end of my business has changed. In my first $50,000, I was going out one-on-one meeting people at networking events. It was very manual, very one-on-one, and that worked for me for a little while, but I understood it wasn't sustainable, it wasn't scalable, and so I had to create new skill sets as an entrepreneur, and I had to up-level into new identities to be someone that could move into that one-to-many format.
Yeah, but for most businesses, when you start out, that's what it's going to take. It might not necessarily be like out in real life networking events. I mean, for many businesses, that can be super effective. But you do need to be marketing yourself and interacting with people and engaging with people and networking, again, whether it's in person or online. Because when you start a business, no one knows who you are. Frankly, no one cares about your business. No one cares what you're selling. You're just another entrepreneur. You need to give people a reason to care about the thing that you're selling. And the way that you do that is by building relationships and connections with people. Like no one owes it to buy from you, and you're never going to sell out a mastermind program if nobody knows who you are or what you sell or why they should buy it.
And as I was doing the more manual one-on-one side of that marketing, I started doing that, right? I started doing that identity work we've been talking about. I really started sharpening my skills of how to market and sell online. And there's different skills and tools you can use to attract an audience online. If you want to learn how to make a visual brand that's really scroll stopping, you'll want to come into the accelerator. But then once you're stopping the scroll and you've clicked into the identity of someone who's building a body of work that leaves a legacy, the next level is really dialing in your ability to communicate effectively to many people, right? One to many, going to scale at once through your messaging and your copy.
But you need an audience that wants to buy from you. I think this is the mistake that so many of these like business coaches brush over, is the fact that, well, first of all, like I said, nobody owes you anything. If they don't know who you are, why would they buy from you? But they also don't address the fact that in order to sell a one-to-many service, you need an audience of many people who see you as an authority and want to buy. And cultivating that audience that trusts you enough to actually spend money on you takes so much fucking time. It doesn't just happen overnight in most cases.
Which is the work we're really double clicking into the mastermind. We're defining what is it that you want to be known for? What is the body of work that creates you being known for it? How do you begin to market and sell in that one-to-many format through really dialing in the precision of your marketing and your selling?
And you can do that, but it's going to take a lot of time, likely months, if not years. And that's the part that none of these people want to say.
Your messaging, your copy, all of that. And then there's different levels of proficiency with this as well. At first, we just want to get your messaging and your copy sharp enough to be cutting down the time it takes a client who comes into your world to go from a lurker to a buyer, but you'll likely still be running sales calls. So you can see learning the skills of how to build and attract an audience and then compressing the timeline of them coming in to buy, that's scaling your marketing. But then if they're sales calls, then you still are in a one-to-one format for your selling, okay? If you have an online business and you're actually posting on social media, you are already in a scalable marketing model. So then what we want to be looking at is, okay, we have this delicious tool that comes out of the box. I just pull my phone out and I have access to hundreds of millions of people. I'm already at scale. So how do I scale myself within this realm of infinite possibility? And between the energetic and visual branding work in the accelerator and then the top level business strategy work in the mastermind, you have a super yummy, magical combo to build your rocket ship.
A yummy, magical, delicious opportunity right here inside your phone, guys. Your phone is so delicious at the opportunity to get rich.
Now coming back.
Enjoy your flight. Harrison says, off to Europe, cheers, downline. DM me if she ever eventually gets to the point. All I'm learning is that I hate the word scale and scalability. I don't want to hear that word ever again for the rest of my life. Safe travels.
Back to the importance of copy and messaging and the different levels of proficiency. Once your copy and messaging is super sharp and you're attracting lots of clients into sales calls, the next level of proficiency available to you is getting so much more dialed in, right? So there's different levels of precision in pleasure and precision, right? So your precision, maybe you just work on, okay, I'm just going to scale up my marketing. I'm going to tighten that up. I'm going to make that more precise, but I'll still have this one-to-one format on the sales call.
It's like she's using these words, but doesn't actually know what they mean. So she's just using them, like we're just going to scale up your marketing to then help you make more money. Like you just got to scale it up. Hashtag scale it up. Just like stay coached up, I got to scale up your marketing to get the leads for the group program, the one-to-many services, hashtag scale. Okay, guys, did you get that? Did you understand what I was saying? That's what you got to do.
And then once you have that, it's like, oh, and then I can scale out of my selling. I can make my messaging, my copy so precise, my demand is so high that I can move to something like having an application and people have to apply to
I forgot the word precision. It also has to be, not only do you have to scale the marketing up, but it's got to be precise. Okay.
possibly get a chance to work with me, right? So once you have really sharpened your demand building skills, there's a lot of really fun things we can start to look at for your business, for your brand, what makes sense for you in terms of the levers we want to pull in going from that one-to-one to one-to-many format. Because for each person, there's these mini levers, right? Scaling isn't just like you go from a one-to-one to a one-to-many and everybody scales the same. You can see from the levers I'm pulling out, there's a million different little mini levers, right? And for each of you, you're going to have different, a lot of you might be doing the same work, right? So like your first round of the mastermind.
Let's be serious. All of your clients are doing the same work. You're all coaches that coach other coaches. Like, let's be honest with ourselves for a minute.
Likely is building a lot of that demand through sharpening your marketing. But then as we're looking at things, we're like, okay, like some of my clients, when I ran my past mastermind, like some of them were just coming into beginning to understand copy, and others who were in like their fourth round had been like, oh, I've been at an application for like 9 months, right? So it's just allowing for, there's always these different levels of precision. It's not black and white. It's a beautiful, luscious grayscale. And we're always just looking at what is that next level for you that makes the most sense. So that is scaling your front end, your marketing and selling. The next piece you want to begin looking at is scaling your delivery to clients. Now, I have clients working across industries and business models. So we will look at what your vision is and break down what your best business model and trajectory will be to build towards, and whether or not scaling your delivery plays into that. Some of you might decide like you want to scale your marketing and you want to scale your operations, but you actually just want to continue growing. Maybe you want to up your pricing. and you want to stay with one-on-one delivery. Like every single person has a different business model that their unique energetic is built for and best for. And we want to get really clear on what that is for you, and then look at all those levers of scaling and figure out what the best trajectory for you is. Okay. So some examples of scaling your delivery could be doing something like creating an online course, which is a one-to-many delivery format. And now that we're breaking down these pieces of levers of scaling, you can start to see that you need to scale your front end before you scale your delivery. Yeah? Is everyone on board with this? I just want to like pause with that caveat, because I know I said people will have, depending on who they are, there's some principles of scaling that go across the board, and then there's some mini levers that will be different for every person. But you must have an audience before you try to create a one-to-many delivery format. So many people come into the online business space and they have no audience, and they haven't developed their own platform, their own body of work, any of that. And then they're like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a course. And they see all of these people making millions of dollars from courses, and they love the idea of helping that many people and making millions of dollars doing it. But they like missed that fundamental first building block, which is like, to have a one-to-many delivery format, you must first have scaled your marketing from one to many and done.
Okay, I am glad she's adding this in, because this is like the first person I've ever heard say this. I don't like the condescending tone that she's using, laughing at people, saying like, why would you believe that? Just because so-and-so is making $1 million, we can all make $1 million. Like, obviously I would believe that, because that's the lie I'm being told by all these other people. So I will say I appreciate the transparency, but the way she's delivering this is kind of icky in my opinion.
All of that identity work we talked about in the beginning, tightened up your visual brand, like tightened up your copy and messaging. There's so many tools that you can use to create more demand, but you've done that piece of it. And then once you have the influx of clients, then you're looking at, I have so many people wanting to work with me. What do I do? How do I help all the people? Okay.
Because this is a mistake that I see a lot of entrepreneurs make, is like trying to launch a course or a group program or something when they haven't even proven that the thing they're selling sells to one-on-one. Hello and welcome. Full clip. Welcome to the stream. Happy to have you here. She seems so condescending. That's the vibe I'm getting, especially with the laughter of like, you want to build a course? Like, you little dumb idiot. That's what's playing in my head. I hate this.
So once we have the set of levers to pull in on the front end, whether it's the visual branding piece or the messaging piece, any of that, those are the keys to creating the influx of people. And then once.
And that was the impression. I don't know if you went back and watched where we read her about page, but her entire about page came off as like, the people at my work were stupid and I was so much smarter than them, so I couldn't work there anymore.
Once the people are there, then you create the course. You could have a group program. You could run a monthly membership. Seriously? Okay. To the people listening right now, I just want to say, I always am tracking, like, I'm delighted by how possible it is to make money online doing anything. And I'm always clocking when I hear the most ridiculous things. And I'm like, I can't believe this is a thing. So I was in a client messaging workshop this week with a really delightful, wonderful woman. I'm not like, she was like amazing, but it fucking blew my mind. I can't remember if she was at $1 million or at multiple millions of dollars, right? But she just runs a business with a monthly membership for women who are between 50 to 75 years old on how to make crepe paper flowers. Okay? I need to say that again. Millions of dollars teaching people to make crepe paper flowers. Like, what is happening? If that is possible.
Yeah, it's called a real business that focuses on people's actual interests. Lucy says, I've seen people with genuine non-coaching businesses work with these types of coaches and end up just becoming coaches because their advice wasn't helpful for a real world business. So I'm sure I've told this story on here, but it came up the other day in an interview that I was doing where people were asking like, what was my sort of turning point when I realized the coaching industry was kind of a grift. And this wasn't the like actual turning point for me. I stayed in the industry for a couple years after this, but this was really like one of the first red flags that I saw. Was I was working with a business coach, kind of like a marketing coach, who was teaching me how to create a membership. So it's funny enough that this comes up as we're listening to this. And so for context, I had a yoga studio. I was also doing like mindset coaching. And so I wanted to create a membership platform where I could meld the two together. So I would live stream yoga classes. I would also do like journal prompts, group coaching sessions, that kind of thing. And so anyway, as we're working out the logistics of this membership platform, she tells me that the only way I'm going to create a scalable membership is if instead of doing the yoga / mindset coaching, I pivot into creating a membership where I would teach other people how to quit their jobs and start a yoga business. Meanwhile, I was only making less than $20,000 a year from like just the yoga portion of my business. I was also doing some like side gigs and that kind of thing, freelancing. And I was like, well, I don't really feel comfortable telling people to quit their jobs to start a yoga business because I don't make my full-time income from my yoga business. And she said, you know what? It doesn't matter. The money is in coaching. And so I never did that, obviously. But that was the first time that I was like, wait a minute. Are the only people that are financially successful the ones that are coaching other people on whatever, whether it's coaching or it's teaching people how to do the thing you've done? Like, that to me was like a wake-up call. This comment says, these streams are so healing for me. I felt so crazy for so long having these issues with things, life coach school and the downline coaches taught. Exactly. It's the whole reason I started this channel, like this specific subsect of this channel, because originally this channel was started as like sharing free business advice, which again kind of is to combat the nonsense that happens in the coaching space. Is like there's so much fluff that gets sold to people for thousands of dollars. And so a lot of the content that I share on TikTok is related to how to start a business, not because I want to be a business coach, but because I want people to have access to that information for free. But the reason why I shared my story initially here on YouTube was because I was so ashamed of the fact that I like fell for this, that after years of like thinking about it, processing it, going to therapy, that kind of thing, I was like, you know what? I cannot possibly be the only one who has experienced this. And so I posted that video on like a bit of a whim talking about how I had fallen for this. And sure enough, everyone started coming out of the woodworks being like, oh my God, this happened to me too. So it really just like, I want to provide people a space that hopefully can create this like sense of peace within yourself to know that like you're not crazy, you're not alone. So many of us have fallen for this thinking that we're like being sold this golden opportunity. And it can take a really long time to unravel a lot of that. So thank you for being here. And I'm glad to hear that it's helpful for you.
Anything is possible. I have attended music retreats last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago. And there was this woman, and I love it. She just like, I was telling the accelerator about this the other day, about like how you can just make money doing anything. Anything's possible. But this woman obviously decided she wasn't going to buy into like the starving artist, like archetype or whatever, that like artists are fed that you're just supposed to suffer. And she obviously decided, no, I'm going to make a fuck ton of money online. So she has a beautiful voice. And I remember I got served a Facebook ad and I heard like 3 notes of her singing. And I forget if she was strumming a guitar or beating a drum. I'd never I'd never even thought about doing a singing retreat before. She got me with a Facebook ad. And I remember doing the math on that woman who is just a woman who loves music and plays the guitar. And I was like, oh, this woman's making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year just being a musician in the world that decided to believe in what was possible for her. The online space has just made it so possible to bring together whatever hodgepodge niche of people from around the world you could possibly imagine and desire. The sky isn't even the limit. And there are so many fun options with scaling your delivery. Now, obviously, there are parameters and filters to decide which model will be best for you. And I will for sure be looking directly at your business, listening to you as you tell me where you're at and where you think you want to go. And we can start to make your specific business plan for the coming years. Every person is different, so every business is going to be slightly different. And the levers
But I can only help you if you have a coaching business.
we're going to pull for scaling and the order that we pull them for scaling. I know I just said there's some principles that are the same across the board, but besides that, there might be different levers at different times, depending on where you're at. Okay. The one thread that we're just going to pull through for everyone coming into the mastermind is that they're working on scaling. Now, one more.
Exactly. Am I muted? No, I'm not. Okay, this comment here is a super important piece. It says a lot of these people wouldn't scam people in other industries, but they get sucked into the life coach school because they want to help people and they make you feel like you can make a difference. So for context, I actually never had any direct experience with the life coach school. I was more just in like, you know, random people that called themselves coaches. And so I don't want to say that this is life coach school specific, because I think it's what we're seeing across the coaching industry, at least in my experience. And that is just that so many of these coaches use, and I think that they've convinced themselves that this is what they're doing. They use this narrative of like, you can make a lot of money helping people. So whether that's through becoming LCS certified, or you go get ICF certified, or you do what I did and take a $8 course on Udemy, you can become a life coach and make money helping people make their life better, right? And so you're sold on this desire to have a fulfilling career where you can improve people's lives and make money doing so. And they tell you you're going to get rich doing that, but really the only way that you actually get rich is through teaching other people how to teach other people. Like the coaches coaching coaches, from what I've seen, is the easiest and basically only way that you're going to make a lot of money. And then they start teaching you how to scam people over time. My time at the life coach school is extremely toxic, and I don't think the business coaches know anything about business. Exactly. Even like people I know who are still in the coaching industry, that we kind of like grew up in the coaching industry together, and like I left and they stayed in it. It's been interesting to watch their progression of like going from, you know, being a life coach, being a mindset coach, to then ultimately shifting into business coaching. Because again, anyone who I've seen be super successful in coaching is a business coach, teaching other people, whether it's teaching people how to start a business, how to start a coaching business, how to do XYZ. It's like, you're going to do what I did because I did it, so now you can too. But then they ultimately only become successful when they also become coaches.
Or way of scaling your delivery is hiring people to do pieces of your work for you. So I have a masterminder. She's a marketing consultant, and it is so fun. You're going to hear her on the podcast, I don't know, in a month, 6 weeks, something. She'll be here soon. And she hit over 6 figures in her first year as a consultant in her first round of the mastermind with me. And now she is in her second round of masterminding with me. And in month 1 of her second round, she has already attracted, interviewed, and hired on her first employee as she's moving towards scaling into an agency model. Now, lastly, we work on your back end business precision. So we do this through looking at what business structures you need to either build now or what you want to start laying the foundation of now to prepare to handle the influx of demand you'll be creating through your front end business precision work. Now, I feel like this jargon, front end, back end, blah, blah, it makes a lot of people who aren't from the business world think this is like a lot more complicated than it is, or like spin out and be like, I don't know what that is, like sort of deer in headlights.
Exactly. Richard says it takes people away from professions where they actually could make a difference, actually getting professional counseling, qualifications, teaching, working with charities. Exactly. Why would you want to go through the effort of becoming a trained counselor and earn a normal wage if you could be a life coach and achieve financial freedom? 100%.
I think this is another thing that, because I worked in business for so long, I just haven't had any of those responses to just business words. So in case these are like words that are tripping you up and you're not able to hear me because you're like, I don't know what the fuck she's talking about, your back end is just the operations side of your business. And a lot of you likely already have scalable pieces in place without even realizing it.
I would hope that if your target is business owners, they understand the difference between the front end and the back end of a business. Like that's 101.
So for instance, if you have a scheduler, right, if you have something available where people can just like click in and decide to book a call with you on your calendar, you have already scaled some of your operations, right? There's literally some people in the world that in order to get on a sales call with them, you have to go like DM them. You have to have a whole back and forth conversation, find a time on their calendar that works for both of you. And it makes it super labor heavy, this like one-on-one interaction for the client, rather than them being able to just book a call with you in 2 clicks. Now, for a lot of you, your back end can be pretty light, even up to 6 figures. But then we really want to look at moving into multiple 6 figures, what kind of structures you want to build and prepare yourself for. So this could be things like automating billing and collecting payment, hiring a VA to answer your support inbox. Basically, you want to look at any task you're doing repetitively that doesn't make you stronger or more skillful on the other side of it. Like you sending out invoices, definitely not sharpening your entrepreneurial chops. And we want you to stop doing that. So anything not making you stronger or more skillful as an entrepreneur is draining your energy, and robbing you of both your pleasure and your next revenue milestone.
Again, I guess if your focus is scaling, then sure. But for me personally, I love doing my own bookkeeping. I love to know exactly what's going on in my business. I love to know how much money I made this week versus last week, this month versus last month. I'm extremely neurotic. Keep that in mind. But to say like, oh, you're wasting your time. Like, no, I think it's important, especially in the beginning of a business, to like really have that understanding of your finances, because so many entrepreneurs don't. They don't do their bookkeeping. They don't understand how that finances work. They're never going to be able to scale effectively if they don't have that foundation of understanding. And I think that there is value in using your time to learn that versus just immediately outsourcing it.
So we want to eliminate it. Now, again, there's an order. Sometimes the order's off, but then there are some where there's principles of the levers we pull as we're going to scale. And I see a lot of people in the beginning when they're scared of marketing and selling, they're like, I have to set up my business. I have to set up my back end. And I'm like, what? For what? Go create the clients on the front end, lots of them, before you even think about needing a scalable back end. Okay. The other big.
And again, I don't totally agree with that. I think you should be doing them in tandem. If you open a business, you should have a good record keeping system. You should have a good way of tracking clients. You don't have to have some fancy like CRM. You could be doing it in like an Excel spreadsheet, but you need to have those systems, because if your business happens to blow up overnight and you don't have a back end system, you've only been focusing on getting all these leads and now suddenly you have 100 leads and no way to deal with them, that's going to cause a bottleneck, and that's going to be a huge issue. So to say like, don't worry about the back end until you've done the front end and you have all these people coming knocking on your door, like, no, you should have a system in place to be able to handle that in the event that it does happen. I saw this happen so much during COVID when people were blowing up on TikTok. And I mean, this happened to me even. I started going viral on TikTok. I had no like lead magnet set up and no way to capture all these leads that were coming in. So it's like, if I had to capitalize on that sooner and had that system in place in the event that I then went viral, I probably could have made a lot more money in like a shorter time period. It took a lot longer because it took me, 6 months to get all this stuff set up. And if I had been prepared, it would have been a better opportunity. So I actually would argue that it's better to have the back end set up before you even worry about bringing people into the business. And again, it doesn't have to be super fancy. It doesn't have to be super expensive, but you should have some kind of idea and system in place so that you know what to expect once things start to take off.
Mistakes I see a lot of entrepreneurs make, speaking of back end, is hiring on too much support too soon before they've really done that front end business precision work. I remember back when I was doing private coaching, this was probably like 2 years ago now, I had a client who was, I forget, I think she was like 200,000 or so. And she had like 4 or 5 people on her team. And it was wild to me. Like, I was making more money. I don't even think I'd hired my first person yet. And she had all these people on her team, not because she needed them, but because she'd like heard on podcasts stuff about team. And it seemed like a cool thing she was supposed to do. And she felt cool saying she like had a team. And she was literally still in her 9 to 5 and barely taking home any money. Her profit margin was slim to none in her business because her back end support was entirely bloated, and it wasn't even supportive. Like, it had not, she didn't understand how to set up hiring, like attracting the right people in, putting their butts in the right seat. So it really was just, it was like herding cats, and it was actually zapping her of her potential revenue growth because she'd made so many mistakes on support on the back end. And this is like, where for me, I mentioned last week, but I had so many skill sets go latent. Like, when I was willing to let go of everything I'd done in corporate and start at ground zero. But now that I'm back and I have a team that I'm running and I'm starting to work with all these people coming in and they're wanting to like grow a team, I'm like, I have grown teams. I have done this in multiple companies. I have learned how to attract. I have learned how to hire. I have learned all the mistakes. And so I think just keep that in mind. Like, if there are certain things, like certain skill sets that you let go latent when you went and you're building now from the beginning, just recognize when you come back to certain parts of your business journey, there might be skill sets that you're like, oh, damn, I got this. Like, I have some colleagues and they're at like, their revenue is higher than me, but they've never attracted and done recruiting before. They've never hired, they've never trained, they've never done any of that before. And I'm finding myself in a position where I'm like, oh my gosh, finally, there's a piece of it that I understand, and it gets to be pretty easy. So you want to make sure that when you are starting to bring on support, you understand exactly who you're trying to attract and for what. You have the mechanisms to do that. You know how to hire them and effectively train them so that they're able to come in and really provide value to you and feel like they're supporting you instead of you feeling like your team is just another thing that you have to take care of. Okay. So anyway, while all of you might be coming in, you might have slightly different business models or paths to scaling. There's principles that are true across the board, okay? Like watch your profit margin and make really strategic decisions. And here's the other thing, be super careful if you have a problem and the first thing you want to do is throw money at it. Oh my God. This is reminding me. I saw this online the other day and I was like crying, laughing so hard. I completely forget who posted it. So if anybody knows, please reach out and I can give them attribution. It was like, if you are constantly
Exactly. This is a really good point. This commenter is saying, I don't think her corporate experience is as valuable as entrepreneurship as she wants to make people think. It's a lot different doing that in someone else's company than creating the whole culture and structures from scratch. Exactly. If I come into a role, I'm hired by, you know, company ABC to be a manager. Maybe I'm like the manager of the sales team. There's probably SOPs in place. Someone else had that role before me. I'm kind of like, you know, filling into this already existing role versus actually building a business where it's me. Again, I have a content creation business. Now suddenly I'm hiring all these employees to work for me. I have to teach them the systems and the processes to create the content, send it to clients, get approval, do the edits, that kind of thing. That's a lot different than me joining a company where I'm suddenly like the manager of that department that already existed, right? Like it doesn't make sense. When you're doing something from scratch, building it from the ground up, it's a lot different. 100%. Richard says people who have worked in startups or small and growing businesses are far more prepared for starting their own business. I've watched my partner grow multiple startups, and every time it's like he's doing 10 different people's jobs, and he actually knows how to do each of those jobs before they then hire it out. And it's so fascinating to me to have that skill set and ability to be able to, you know, be the sales team and be the IT team and do this and do that. It's like she's really downplaying what it takes to be able to do that, I think. And I don't think having a corporate job would translate well into that.
putting out fires in your business, then you are most likely an arsonist. And it is so true. Whenever we see a pattern, we have to be aware when we are the common denominator. So we want to be looking at this from a very strategic business strategy lens, but also if there are things happening repeatedly in your business, we always want to look at what is coming up as a pattern within you that wants to be healed, transmuted, and cleared. Scaling is fun. It really, really is. I've been running group programs for a couple of years now, but this past year, launching my program, this really feels like the infinite scale. Like there are so many people in this world dying for this work, and the possibilities really are endless with an online business.
Are they though? Are people dying for this work, or are you just gaslighting them into believing that they need it? Because I know even in my experience, I don't really know that I would have ever ended up here if I hadn't have like come across a Facebook ad that made me believe that I needed to be in the online coaching space. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think people are actually actively looking for it so much as you're shoving it down people's throats and then you manipulate them into thinking that they need it, in my opinion.
Now, I want to talk about this because a lot of you have drama about scaling. And I think some of this, again, might be rooted in like employee mindset. Like you think you have to effort for money. You think you have to trade time for money. So if you're in that construct, when you amplify the amount of money, you think it takes a lot of work, right? So there's that piece of it. I think there's also a piece for some of you that don't come from the business world. When I'm using words like front end and back end and operations, like you might become a little bit of like a deer in headlights, and they're just words. Right. So there's nothing to be afraid of. Okay. It is hard work. It's a climb up a mountain, but it can be a climb up a mountain that feels super invigorating on the path. And so if you have thoughts like you're not ready to scale, or if you just like, you're like, oh, I don't even like, scaling. Oh, I'm not sure. You want to ask yourself why, like what is coming up for me that's making me sort of avoidant of it if I know that I want to impact a large number of people with what I do in my lifetime. Okay. And it's good. Also, here's the other thing. It's really good to show your brain that you actually already are scaling right now, right? If you're marketing on social media, you are already scaling your marketing. Or if you're using any sort of tech automation, like
just believe that you're scaling and your business will scale. If you just convince yourself that you're delusional enough to believe that your business is successful, it'll be successful, guys. Being delulu is the salulu.
Like calendaring that we talked about, right? Like then you are already scaling part of your operations. So it's not like a white and black scenario. Scaling is a gray scale, and we're always just looking at what is the path to scaling, what levers do we pull when, and what makes the most sense for you. And so if you're already sitting right now,
Yes, Athena, I was just thinking the same thing. She says, I feel like she's repeated herself a lot. What is she even saying now? I've kind of started tuning her out because she just keeps saying the word scaling. Scaling and levers and repeat and scale. Okay, but I feel like this could have been a 20-minute episode, and instead we're 40 minutes in.
Now, within a scalable model with your phone at your fingertips, don't you want to learn how to drive the car? Like, it's like you're sitting in a race car going 5 miles per hour if you are deciding not to scale. Like, yes, you could totally drive the race car at 5 miles per hour if you wanted to, but like, it's actually probably harder to drive the race car at 5 miles per hour than it is to drive the race car at top speed, which it was designed to run at, right? So don't you want to drive the race car the way it was designed to be driven? Social media was designed to put us into contact with this large swath of people at any given moment. And don't you want to feel that majestic machine beneath you looping and moving seamlessly across the track? And I love this analogy for scaling because a lot of you think getting to multiple 6 figures or multiple 7 figures, it's going to take time, it's going to take so much hustle and grind or be so hard and cost so much to your personal life or whatever. But those are just past paradigm thought patterns.
Yeah, guys, don't you remember her advice from earlier? If you want to make more money, just start charging an extra $3,000 for every program and you'll just make more money without having to do anything.
You are already on platforms right now that give you access to hundreds of millions of people at your fingertips. That's how we know it doesn't take hustle. It takes business precision. Seriously, think about a race car driver.
It does take hustle, though. I mean, yeah, sure. There are people out there who maybe, like, I'm thinking in the context of like growing a YouTube channel. You can understand if your only intention is to grow and you don't have like a specific niche that you want to grow in, you could understand how to make really good content, how to edit really well, and how to hook people in. And you could grow a big channel very quickly and maybe not. No, you would have to hustle, because even if I'm doing that and I'm putting out, 1 video a month and that video gets 100 million views, the amount of effort and time that would go into actually making a video people want to watch that's that good, chances are I'm going to have to hustle a lot. So I take it back. She's wrong, in my opinion.
Or like a professional driver, okay, who can get into their car and do insane things on the track. Do you think that driver is feeling hustly? A professional driver is calm, they're relaxed.
Thank you for subscribing. Welcome to the channel. To that, I will say the same thing I said to the last person.
Now you are one of us. One of us. One of us.
Welcome.
They're confident. And they understand that the vehicle they're operating, they get it. They understand how to move and operate the vehicle so they can move insanely fast while their own body is in a very different state. Like, of course, when a driver gets on the track or when an entrepreneur goes into a launch, there's going to be a spike of adrenaline. But in order to be on the track for that driver and to catch the slightest of details, like who's in their right-hand mirror and who's on the left side and exactly about how far they are, and to be so at one with the present moment on that racetrack so that they make the next right decision, they have to be deeply, deeply in the present moment, which means they can't be up in their head wondering what the thing is that they should do next, right? If they got up into their head worrying, they would begin to make really sloppy mistakes that as a race car driver could cost you your life. Luckily, as entrepreneurs, we don't have that concern of something being life-threatening. Our brain might sometimes tell us it is, but in fact, we are just out on the internet with, if you have a phone, it's like you have a race car that was designed to go at extremely high speeds. And all you have to do is become the driver that understands how to operate the vehicle. You have to learn how to do the copy and messaging work. You have to learn some of the systems on the back end. How do I do systems? How do I do support? How do I do this business thing?
I feel like she's saying so many contradictions, because earlier she's saying you shouldn't be doing the back end. You shouldn't be doing your invoicing. You shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing that. And now she's saying you actually have to learn how to do everything and then do it well, and then you'll scale. Like, make up your mind, lady. I'm getting mixed signals and I'm hella confused.
But the vehicle that you're sitting in right now, it is designed to be a race car. It is designed to move quickly. And to each and every one of us, we all have the same capability and capacity to move at great speed on the racetrack.
Also not true. Not every business is designed to grow super quickly. Just like Richard said, top speed for one business, for a one-person business, delivering services one business at a time. Not every business is scalable, but also not every business can operate really quickly. Like if I'm like a plumber, for example, and I'm fixing someone's broken toilet, I can only work as quickly as it takes me to fix the toilet. It's not just like suddenly I work super fast, like this mentality doesn't make sense and it doesn't apply to every business. But I guess we're only talking about coaches, so Am I surprised? No.
Some people are just deciding to learn to operate the vehicle, and some people are deciding to not learn how to operate.
Also not true. Like, some people don't have the ability to effectively market themselves online. They don't have that skill set. They don't have that, you know. I was actually speaking about this with a client the other day who I make their like short form video content for them. And we were having this discussion how, like, if I were to pass that work off onto them, because one of the services I offer is, rather than doing like done for you content, I will just script all the content. And if you have someone on your team that wants to create it themselves, they can do that. But I was basically explaining to them that in order to pass that off, they need someone on their team that's comfortable enough being on camera and editing the content themselves. So it's like, that in itself is a skill set that not everyone has. Not everyone has the know-how, the personality, the charisma, the confidence to show up on their little phone like she's talking about and be like, hey, I'm selling this thing, you should totally buy it, right? Like, not everyone is made to have that front-facing marketing. And she's making it sound like, well, anyone can do it and it's so easy. Like, no, I could even make videos, and if they're not very good, no one's going to watch them and my business isn't going to grow. So to make it oversimplified like this really is just annoying.
Operate the vehicle. Okay. You can drive fast while being calm. In fact, in order to perform at your highest capacity.
Exactly. This comment says you don't pull the knowledge out of nowhere. You research or school or interview people, or you get it through experience. Like, you don't just wake up one day and suddenly know how to do everything. Nor, like, I'm good at some things in my business and not so good at others, right? Like, you're never going to be good at everything and be able to come and do it all.
To not make sloppy mistakes, you must be. The same way, you can grow your business to multiple 6 figures, multiple 7 figures while feeling deep peace and pleasure. In fact, in order to perform at your highest capability, to not make sloppy mistakes, you must be. The next round of the Pleasure and Precision Mastermind will enroll in February. If you heard this episode and you know I'm the mentor you want walking beside you on this path, you can head to www.
I know that you're not, so we're going to end that there. That's enough of that nonsense. Okay, I'm exiting that. Okay, Bubba is gone. Bubba is sleeping in the hallway. Tired baby. Okay, that was just so much fun, guys. I really hated it every second of that, to be honest. Oh, the square is a really horrible color. Okay, there we go. We're back. Richard says, even if you are a plumber and you're hiring other plumbers, hiring more plumbers doesn't necessarily mean you'll have more demand. And building more demand doesn't mean you can hire good plumbers. Exactly. And I'm a plumber. I'm not a marketer. So who's going to be doing my marketing? Like, I can't just decide, you know, I'm going to build this massive plumbing company and then start making videos on my phone if I'm not comfortable talking and making videos on my phone, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense. You can only grow as much as demand grows, or as much as demand allows, and as far as you can service that demand. The scale thing she was talking about is absolute nonsense. The only thing that would have made sense, and this is not good advice, but the only thing she said that would have made sense was increase your price from $2,000 to $5,000, and that's how you're going to scale. Okay, because as the coach, that doesn't require any extra effort on you. I'm not saying you should do that. I think that that's completely incorrect, and you absolutely should not just raise your prices because you want to make more money. But if we want to talk about like what's practical advice, that would be one way that would actually make you more money without you requiring to like actually learn anything or understand how to do anything. That was truly wild. Thank you so much for sticking it out with me. I'm glad we were able to make it through 2 episodes. We all know she's not the one we want as our mentor. That is very true, Lisa. I will not be hiring this woman personally, but if you watched this and thought she was amazing, she gave you the website at the end of the podcast there, so that's great. All right, friends, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to thumbs up the stream if you haven't already. Unless you hated it, then you can give it a thumbs down. That's fine too. I will have a new video coming out to members shortly. I just gotta finish editing, and there was one part that I forgot to film. So I gotta film that, edit it, put it all together. Should be out in a couple hours. And then non-channel members will have access on Tuesday. Okay? Okay, Chai, I'm so sorry you missed the party, but thank you so much for being here. That's going to be it. I will be back on my regular live stream schedule next Monday. So the 29th, maybe. And I might try and stream later this week. We'll see if I'm up for it. Maybe I'll put a poll together and we'll see. Thank you so much. It was nice to see you, Richard. Thanks for being here. Take care. Comb your hair. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Okay? Bye!